everyone. And again, we're delighted to be here tonight to concentrate on how we can help you, the teachers and students, to improve your presentation, your report, whatever you're going to be doing for the Student Enterprise Awards. Now, we're going to commence actually with the intermediate and the junior, and we're delighted to have John Byrne here, who has extensive experience. And whilst there is a marking scheme, and Greg did say what we're doing is really for the national final, it may change for the county final. So whatever your local enterprise office has submitted to you, ensure to follow that. What we're going to start with, which I think is really good, John has decided to go through all the different marking schemes and give you generic tips, which are really important, which will help you prepare for the Student Enterprise Awards. John, delighted to have you, and delighted and waiting anxiously to hear all those fantastic tips you have.
Okay, no worries. Well, I kick them off, Caroline.
Well, okay, maybe if you started off with your first tip there that you're going to talk about the marking scheme, answering the questions.
Yeah, as Caroline has said, I have been meeting students and marking reports across all the categories over many, many years. And so what I decided to do is just to kind of take 5 things and highlight them as things that I've kind of experienced and that I'd like to bring to your attention. So the first, I have them down as kind of 5 tips. So the first thing that I would say is answer all the questions. There is a marking scheme, and regardless of what county or whether it's junior, intermediary, or senior, there's a marking scheme for the student enterprise, and this is what the judges will go by. And so when I say answer all the questions, it's akin to being told after your junior cert or your leaving cert, if you don't answer all the questions, we can't give you top marks. And so what happens a lot of the time is, so what I mean by that is within the marking scheme, there'll be things for finance, innovation, marketing, and I'm suggesting that you structure your report so that you make sure you give the judges some information on all of those areas. If you don't have information or much information on a certain area, we can't give you the marks. As much as we might like other aspects of the project, as much as we might like the product or the service or how well you marketed it, you're going to lose out. So the first kind of tip in terms of scoring as well as you can is to make sure that you address all of the key areas, and that's going to be kind of governed by the marking scheme. So that's the first tip that I would have. My second tip is in relation to innovation. What I shoot into that, Caroline. So innovation, I suppose a lot of us may think about that as I've come up with this new idea for a product, or it's a new product altogether. But in our experience marking the reports or meeting the students and interviewing them, innovation comes in many forms. So it can be a product that's done before and you're just doing it a little bit better. But where there are other areas can innovate is people can innovate in terms of how they raise their finance. So some people have come up with ideas where they've raised a lot of their finance or even sold a lot of their products even before they've made them. So that has impacts for the cash flow. Some people may innovate in terms of how they have marketed themselves and or even how they've sourced the raw materials. Maybe they've picked the raw materials that have been recycled, or they're being disposed of by one business and they're repurposing them. So there's a broader way of looking at innovation in a business. So don't think about it just as the product or the service. Think about it in all different ways. Is there ways that you can market yourself that's a bit different? That will come, from my point of view, that's something that I recognize as being innovative, and I'll kind of consider that in the overall scheme of things. So that's point number 2 in relation to innovation. Point number 3 is in relation to marketing. And what I title is to say, make marketing meaningful. In my experience reading a lot of the reports and meeting students over the years, these days, because there's such a focus on social media, there's often people that they set up their Instagram accounts, Facebook and whatever. There's a feeling that that's the marketing, and that's one part of marketing. But the problem is that having a social media account doesn't make it marketing. It's, marketing is about understanding what is the problem that I'm solving, Who am I making this product or service for? And how do I kind of get my message to them? How do I get their attention? How do I let them know that, create some visibility with that market and build some credibility with that market? And so they know then that I have something for sale. So that's my point. Make marketing meaningful. It's not just about having Facebook accounts, and it's not just about having sales in your schools and stuff like that, although they may well be totally appropriate. But think about who your customer is and where you might be able to engage with them and grab their attention. So, and again, on the marketing side, in relation to things like market research, just because something isn't working out, when we see that they tried this, that wasn't selling, they adjusted, they pivoted in that term that they use today during COVID. They've decided, listen, we won't go down that road. We're gonna go this road. That kind of stuff, making mistakes, adjusting your strategy, that kind of stuff is kind of seen by judges in a very positive light, because that's very close to real life. All we have to do is look at COVID now, and real businesses, deciding, well, listen, we can't get people into a restaurant, so therefore we're going to do takeaway meals, or we can't do this, so we're going to do online cookery classes. So that kind of pivoting and is very relevant, and it always has been, and it's been highlighted with COVID. And I think there is something in the marketing scheme this year about, have you adjusted your business plan or strategy to meet with that challenge this year? So that is point number 3, make your marketing meaningful. Again, the better you understand your client, the easier it is to kind of get the right message to the right person. The 4th point I like to call it, show me the money. A lot of the time, obviously the financial performance is a very important thing, but a lot of the time on the reports or the feedback or the submissions or in the interviews, there's sometimes confusion about what's forecasted, what's actual sales. So very, very simply, there isn't the money side of it isn't that complicated. What I'm looking for is clearly tell me how much it costs to make your product or deliver your service. Tell me how much you're going to charge for that, and then tell me how much you're going to make on each unit or each customer. So that's your margin. And then simple as that. Then give me some idea of your forecasted sales and your forecasted cash flow, because the cash flow is the kind of thing that you can have a load of sales, but without the cash flow, you can't deliver that product, or it can put you out of business in the real world, in real life. And then when you've done your sales and forecasts and that kind of stuff, then the final sets of figures are, what were your sales, what were your expenses, and what were your profits? And sometimes that isn't very clear from the reports as to, are these forecasted sales, are these actual sales? I'm saying don't be shy about giving me the information or giving other judges or putting them out there what the information was, and don't be ambiguous. Make it clear, this is what we forecasted, this is what we sold, it was below or under or over expectations, and this is why this was. And that's all part of business, and that's all part of real business. So that is point number 4 about the money side of things. And my final point is, that's what I call hard work works. Regardless of all the other stuff in relation to innovation, the product, the strategies, the marketing strategies, the financial strategies, the operational things, and how you all get on together, in order to succeed, you have to work harder than you have to work harder, be relentless, and more than your competitors. And we see this year after year. People who are relentless in terms of overcoming problems and coming up with new ways of getting around them, relentless about pushing on the sales side of things. And that involves, I know for a lot of people, in terms of feedback, that involves a lot of getting past your discomfort about selling for lots of people, or kind of putting your head out there and saying, will you buy this off me? So push in relation to the sales side of thing. And you get the rewards when you push past that. I've talked to students in the past, and initially they can be very apprehensive about the sales side of things. But once they start doing it and once they start making progress, that, then they feel that they've really learned from the overall process. So the people who tend to win, people who do too well, tend to work very, very hard at their projects and at their business. So there are kind of 5 observations that I have from many years of marketing and meeting students across all of the categories, and hopefully that will give you some insight as to what the judges are looking for. I know Caroline was telling me, the competition is always changing, and we've had to change, obviously, when it comes to COVID, and we aren't meeting the students, obviously, the way we were in previous years this year. So you've got to be really, really clear. I know a lot of reports are being done now via poster. You've got to be really, really clear about the big questions about your business. Who am I making this for? Why did I decide to go for this market? How did I decide to sell it? How did we deliver that? How did we? What kind of money did we make? What did we forecast? What did we learn? That's also another big thing for me. When I ask students about was there any problems on the team, that I'm not disappointed to hear, oh, we couldn't get on, or we were having fights, or people weren't doing enough work. That to me is absolute real life. That to me is really learning from the process. And a judge is not going to they're not going to respond negatively to what you might think is bad news. That's all part of the process, and the learning and development is a huge part of the process. So don't be worried about that kind of stuff. That's all part of life and of business. So that's some of my observations, and hopefully I've kind of put them into a couple of nutshells so that they're easier for you to take away and bring them into your own projects this year and going forward in future businesses.
Okay, thank you, John. That was fantastic. I love the way that you brought it down into 5 key areas to answer all the questions: the innovation, the marketing, the show me the costs, and also the hard work. And while the marketing schemes are there, make sure to follow them. But remember what we said, these may change from county to county, but these are the ones for the national final. And remember, there's quite a substantial amount of marks going, as John was saying, for your development. What did you learn from this, and the skills that you actually developed, in particular for the junior cycle, which ends with the junior and intermediate section. So thank you so much, John. That was really insightful and a great help for all our students and teachers.
Great. Thanks, Caroline. Cheers.
My favorite point that John made was, make sure you cover all the criteria. So very quickly, just what I want to do is I'm just going to throw the criteria up on the screen. There's a lot there. But bearing in mind, you can download the marking scheme directly from the studententerprise.ie website. But if we actually we'll go for the junior category first. So you can see the various different sections here. So there's 10 points, for example, for market research. So if I don't mention market research when I'm putting my submission together, I'm going to get 0 points. There's 10 points for the marketing mix, the 4 Ps. If I don't answer that, I get 0 points. So a really, really valid point that John was making is make sure that you go through the marking scheme and you ensure that you're addressing every element that's requested. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on points. It's no different from the intermediate category, which I've just put on the screen now. Again, market research, 10 points, marketing mix, 10 points. Your unique selling point is also 10 points. So to John's point there, make sure that you cover all those points, because sadly, John can't give you any points for anything that you didn't answer. So I think some really, really good words of wisdom there. Yeah. So thank you, John. But just that's a massive takeaway, guys. Make sure that you look at the marking scheme, you cover all those particular points. Really, really important. Thanks so much, John. Absolutely brilliant.
Good stuff.